Hello, and welcome to Creative Curves, where we talk with creative individuals in various fields about their creative process. I'm your host, Blue Sirens. On today's episode, we welcome on Katrina Sotera. She is a Filipinx and Costa Rican-American alternative R&B singer-songwriter from Queens, New York. With a unique blend of heart-wrenching lyricism and flowy melodies, Katrina delves into the transformative power of radical honesty through her music. Her latest single, Beauty, captures the essence of young love, wrapping listeners in a nostalgic, funky groove that fills you with the sweetness of her summer fling. The accompanying sci-fi music video showcases Katrina's creative vision as she transports viewers to another galaxy. Check it out now on YouTube for your daily dose of intergalactic travel. Hey, Katrina, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I know you're in New York and I'm on the West Coast in Las Vegas, and we've only got to like hang out a couple of different times. So it's really good to catch up with you and hear about like everything you've been doing in music. You've got a new music video out that I
Mm,
really want to learn more about because it's shot like 3, 4 different places.
mm,
And there's, if you haven't listened to the song, definitely listen to the song because there's a lot of cool little details in it that I'm like, oh, is this song stopping? But it's like a tape effect, and then
mhm,
just the visuals you did in the video. I was like, because I didn't know honestly for the longest time that you were doing a music video because you
mhm,
kept
mhm.
just posting like, hey, I'm, this is me at a shoot. This is me at a different shoot. Here's me at a show. And then it's like, I'm in a spacesuit. And I'm like, oh, is this music career over? We're joining NASA? Okay.
Even
And
has
then
a
you're
NASA
like,
patch.
yeah, exactly. And you're like, hey, no, it's a music video. I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. But even when I watched it, there were some of the scenes in it. I was like, that was for the music video. I thought it was just, hey, we're just doing a photo shoot to do a photo shoot. But
Cool.
how the music video, tell us about the song, how the music video come together, how the song kind of come together.
Yeah, well, the song was just something that I ended up freestyling when I was meeting up with my producer for this song, Lewis, or Microwaved Water. Um, and I just ended up kind of freestyling it over a beat he played me. It really honestly came together super quickly. It was just one of those songs that it just kind of came out. And he was just so affirming about it. So I just really stuck with the vibe. And the song came together a lot more fast than the music video.
Mm.
Really, the song was done maybe last summer. And then since then, probably early summer, I think, because I was sending it to be mastered by like August, September. And so just this whole time we've been working on the music video. And I decided to do a music video because I knew that I needed a video to kind of like um be like the next step of what I was like missing as like an artistic professional. Um so many applications and playlists and things like they ask if you have any videos out. And so I knew I needed this kind of like visual, and the song is kind of like a really lighthearted like love song about a summer fling I had. Honestly, it was a while ago now. It's probably like 10 years ago. It was just
Oh,
something
wow.
like I honestly I just started singing, and then when I write I usually kind of like let it flow out, essentially kind of freestyle something, and then if I like it I kind of reflect and I say like, what is this about and what am I singing about and what am I feeling? And so I knew I was kind of just like remembering like summertime, like love. And so then I kind of just rode on this like really nice short like fling that I had. And I knew that for the video, if I didn't want to go into this like dramatic like reenactment of like a love story, I just didn't feel like doing something where I'm like running around, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like that was really the vibe of what I was wanted to do. And I remember I was talking to Lewis. I was talking to Microwave Water, and we had like an early meeting. It was like 10 a.m. So like I we was like a Zoom meeting, and we were just talking about next steps, marketing for the song. And I was like, I guess I could just do a video where I'm like performing the song and there's all these like really cool effects. And so we like hung up. I knew like I had to think about this, and I had like it was a weekend, so I had like a list of things I had to do. So I was like feeling kind of overwhelmed, and I sat down and I wrote out like the list of like, laundry, you know, I don't know, like pay my credit card bill or whatever is like just kind of on the list. And then of course it's like when you're thinking about like a million other things to do, you like it kind of comes to you. So honestly, it just came to me kind of like in a vision. It just was like coming in fast, and I just had to like write it down super fast. But what led to the space theme was that I kind of go into I start singing about like Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in one phrase. So in the original storyboard, I really imagined myself kind of like being goofy, walking out, like pretending I was in space, like in the astro suit. Obviously, like the video became like much more serious, um, or just like less completely goofy. But that was kind of like the inspo. Um, and also, I just really like a lot of surrealist films. It's kind of been like my thing the last few years. So I just kind of wanted to go in that, or I ended up going in that direction because I think I was influenced. And it opened up a lot of options for me. I think it be not having to be this like tangible storyline, like it allowed for like a lot of abstractness, and um uh yeah, I was able to just kind of do whatever I wanted and let people interpret what they see.
Yeah, because it's shot in like 3 or 4 different locations. So, if the space theme doesn't really speak to you, the location where you're kind of like walking around, or where it's more of like a extravagant photo shoot, if you give an opportunity for people to connect in multiple different ways, and not like this is only way you can connect with it, or this is the only representation of it. Which I think is like very important, because sometimes artists are just like, oh, my music's up for interpretation, and you are doing that, but like I feel like it's a little bit like, hey, it's you have some options, and not just like when someone Googles something and they're like, hey, what does this one song mean? It's like, well,
Mhm.
they don't even want to say what it means, and the video is just them performing it live.
Yeah.
So you give people, I feel like, a lot of different options to connect with the video and connect with the song and connect with you, because your style and your look is different in all three of the settings.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear because I didn't even consider it that way. Honestly, the multiple settings thing was just by me looking up other music videos, and I was just like, well, they have multiple shots.
Yeah.
Um, and then I also knew that since I had such a specific story I was telling in a very abstract way, I knew that I had to use each outfit to like kind of ground my character throughout the music video. Um, so I mean, I do want to hear your interpretation of the video because since I'm like it's surrealist, there's no wrong answer, but obviously I do have my understanding of what's happening. But yeah, I don't to turn it on you. What do you think the music video's about?
um so now that I know it was like the song was inspired per se by like a summer fling, um
Hmm.
I can see like, maybe like the stages of a relationship, possibly like through
Hmm.
the settings of the video.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
before I knew that, I thought it was more so like, um, almost like, hey, I'm getting to know you through this video, or like the stages of getting to know
Mm.
someone. Because it's like,
Mm.
hey, this is like, I'm trying to just be kind of casual and not really like, it's no big deal.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not really trying to give like too hard of an impression.
Hmm.
And then like the next one is like, hey, but I'm like dressed up, like we're going on like a really fancy date or something. So like, you know, if you're not about this, then like this is where the song ends for you. And
Mhm.
then like then you're like in the spacesuit. And it really just like determines like, you know, who's listening
Um,
to the song. And if it's like, you know, if it's someone that is like, I'm sure like maybe some girls are like, hey, this is part of the song where like uh she's like leaving his world and she's going to be on her own world or her own planet.
that's
uh
cool.
Anytime there's like space involved, I always kind of think of like Ariana Grande's song "I Need Space," and so I'm like, oh, like she's
Okay.
maybe you're leaving this person because it didn't really go well on that date or something. But like how I kind of took it was more so of uh like you're leveling up each time the scene changes of like, hey, we're kind of casual, hey, I'm trying to show you like everything that like look how great it can be. And then it's like last scene when you're like an astronaut, it's like, that's right, I'm out of this world, I'm that good, like you thought it was good here but it's even better in the last scene. So that's kind of what I thought you were trying to do with some of like the different scene changes. And again, like I think I kind of just laid out 4 or 5 different interpretations.
Yeah, yeah,
So there's the scenes totally work to tell tell a story and tell a narrative. It's just like, hey, what do you want that narrative to kind of be? And how someone decides to interpret that song is how it works for them, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing everyone's interpretations. Whenever I hear like everyone's, I'm always like, that's a better one than I had in mind. I'm always like, I should just go with that from now on. But so I mean, it's all close. It's all very close. Basically in my mind, I'm kind of like, do you remember Xenon, the show from Disney Channel? It's like this young girl and she lives up in a space station, but sometimes she goes
Oh,
down to Earth.
yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like Xenon, and right now I started out telling the story on Earth, but then like I put on my memory helmet and I
Mm.
remember the like cute times in space with my space boo. Um, but it's all supposed to be like really weird because I get that like really strange look at the end of the video. And that's like supposed to be inspired by, or was inspired by 2001 Space Odyssey. Because
Okay.
it's kind of supposed to be like at the end, it's like, you know, in my mind, did it all really happen? Or am I being controlled by the helmet, by the
Mm.
machine? Or like, was any of it real or was it like an imagination type of, was it virtual reality?
I mean, these are
Who knows
all,
what it was?
yeah, these are all really good descriptions for like a summer fling. Because I don't know, sometimes it's like,
Did it
oh,
even really happen?
yeah, exactly. Did it really
Yeah.
mean that much to me as it did to them? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
man. Well, I have a question that I'm really interested to know the answer to. Like, how do you sit on a song for
Oh
this
man.
long? Because like I know you said, hey, we're making the video, and that may have been like the thing, but like, you know, you can release a song and then do the video like later for it.
Yeah.
But like me, like I release a song like every 2 weeks, pretty much almost,
Yeah,
and
you're
we're different
good.
genres. So like that's like the
No, but
biggest
you churn them
factor.
out. You churn
Yeah,
them out. You
I'm trying.
really, you're a machine. You do it.
I also do
It's
everything myself too, though. So it's like I know like I also can't sing, so that's like the hardest
debatable,
thing.
I'm sure. It's
No,
debatable.
we're not going to prove that here because this will get flagged for terrible content or something. But the part, you know, like you sing and like you have like you've got a producer and you've got like a team that's like, hey, we're here to make everything like be the best. And like I'm like, hey, I'm doing everything myself, and it's a different genre. It's lo-fi, and you're like this smooth R&B hip hop kind of artist, or maybe it's just R&B. But regardless, like you've got a team, and you've got people that are working with you to make sure like, hey, it's the best content, and you've had it finished for like almost a year, like 9 months almost. So how do you sit on a song for that long and be like if I listen to a song that I made like a year ago, there are most of them I'd be like, I still stand by that, I still like that song. But there's maybe one or two, just because of how many I released, that I'm like, you know, there's a couple things I would go back and change. So
Oh,
how
don't even.
do you sit on a song for that long?
I mean, it's rough. It's rough. I've talked to lots of people about this because even with my EP, I mean, I didn't wait a year between recording and releasing it, but I think it did take me like maybe 6 months to get it together, and that was rough. And this was rough again. I mean, I've asked so many artists, like, how does it like you feel nuts, right? Like the waiting time between when you're done with music and when you put it out, everyone's like, yeah. And then somehow we sign up to do it again and again and again. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I spend the whole time kind of like super like, anxious, and I have to constantly remember that, I'm doing it. I mean, you're essentially I'm just doing it for marketing purposes. That's the only reason
Yeah.
to not release it immediately, because you want to have some kind of rollout. Um, but it's rough. It's hard. I don't know. It's not easy. I always like just want to hit the button. But then I also know that I like mess things up if I rush it.
Yeah.
I'm someone who needs to let things marinate. Um, but for sure, it really sucks. Also, I think I find that when I write songs, um, by the time I record it, it's, usually in the early stages. So then I spend all this time, singing it and performing it. And by the time it's like out, I kind of have a different relationship to it, and I sing it a little bit differently, and I emphasize things differently when I sing it. And honestly, I feel like I sing it better. So then I start getting annoyed. I'm like, dang, this recording is the worst version. And my voice, I have a voice teacher who's really amazing, Elizabeth Shaw. Shout out to her. And she's just always really emphasizing to me that like recordings are just like a snapshot of where you
Yeah.
are artistically. I think it's so hard for me to be happy with my vocal track. It's just like I always just want to burn it. So I just think that it would just there it's I'm never gonna be satisfied with it. So might as well just like get it done. Um yeah.
Yeah, and I've kind of touched on this in some of the other interviews I've had with artists where like, and you kind of took the words right out of my mouth where when you do a song, it's like a recording, it's a snapshot of that point in time. And sometimes like for me, I often get to a point where I'm like, I don't know what else to make the song better or what else to do with it. And then I release it and then I'm like, okay, I'm learning the lesson now
Yeah.
because my brain just said we don't have to work on that anymore. But
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
snapshot of like where you are as an artist, and of course you're
Mhm.
gonna get better and better. So like it's sometimes tough to go back and listen to those. And I'm glad you point out like the live performance act because I think that's a big factor for artists. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of artists are semi introverted and so sometimes don't have like that
Yes.
energy to be like I'm gonna go perform. And it's like yeah, but if you do it, you're gonna see there are other ways and
Yeah.
other voices for this song. And if it comes to like an instrument or how you're using your voice, like one of the bands I was in, we recorded an entire album and we did everything just pretty much like on a computer, except for like guitar and vocals. And then
Mhm.
we were like, all right, we're gonna perform it live. Let's get a bass player and a drummer. And they were like, wait, we could have made this so much better if we just had like we didn't use a computer for parts of this.
Yeah.
But
It's
you
more
know,
dynamic for sure.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Like, making sure like I think you're doing uh it's like a weird thing. Sometimes people in tech do it. It's like oddly what Kanye West does, which is like really weird. Uh, where they don't really they get a group of people together and then they test the song and they're like, "What do you guys think?" And then they take the feedback and then they make it better and then they do it again and again. But
Mm.
it's a thing they do a lot in like tech and things like that. And yet it's kind of weird. I feel like when artists do it because people are like, oh, if they show me the song, it's the final version. And it's like, well, no, we're going to go back and probably make some changes. We're just like trusting you at this listening party or I don't know. What are your thoughts kind of like on playing songs for an audience that hasn't been released? For me, when I've been in the audience,
Mhm.
I'm like, again, it's not because like I have a personal relationship with any of the members of the band, but like sometimes when they play unreleased songs, I'm like, I paid you to play the songs I know. I want to hear. Well,
Hilarious.
like I saw Green Day. I saw Green Day like last year, and like we've got a new album coming out. Here's a song off the new album, and I'm
And you
like,
didn't like it?
I
You didn't
honestly
like
didn't
that?
like that song. It's like the
What?
song I like the least on the album, probably. But I also was like, guys, I want to hear you play like the songs I know.
I've
I
never heard someone say this before, but that's really funny.
really. So this is also like a weird thing too. I think it was is there Pat Oswald or Chris Rock? One of them said this, and they said if you're a comedian and you record an album, people will buy that album and then they're going to come see you. And when they see you, you better be doing different content than the album. And if you do different content than what you've already recorded, they're going to come see you again and again. But if you're an
Yeah.
artist and you don't play what's on the album, people are gonna come see you again.
I guess that is true for big artists. Like people will be like, why did they change that part? I feel like I'm small enough that people are happy when I like I mean, I'm not doing large changes, but I do
Yeah.
change I have changed honestly actually a decent amount melodically from stuff that songs that are on my EP because it's been like 2 years that it's out now. So I have a completely different relationship with the music. Um
I think that kind of thing is actually appreciated a lot by fans because they're like, oh,
yeah.
it's a different version. I think more
Yes.
so when it's like unreleased material where they're like, I have no idea. Like they're like listening to it for the first time. And so they're
Like,
not
I
like
don't want this shit.
I don't think they're like that. I think like if I was in the audience of an artist I really liked and I had the opportunity to actually hear everything that's going on, then I'd
Mhm.
be like, hey, I just want to like listen to this for a little bit and like try and
Mhm.
figure it out. But like a live setting sometimes isn't the best way to do, well, at least for rock
Mm.
music, it's not the best way to do it. I think your music, because you have like it feels like every time I see you post a video of like, hey, here's a performance, it's like we're at a smooth jazz club.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah, yeah.
quiet. No one's
Chill
loud. We're
vibes.
just chilling. Yeah, we're chilling back and
Yeah,
we're drinking. So that
yeah.
that environment is actually a really good environment, I think, to like
Mhm.
test your songs out because people are actually like they can listen and absorb it. Whereas like
Mhm.
if it's like a rock concert, people are like, I don't know what I need to be listening to, which
Mm.
guitar or like the vocals
Yeah,
or so your genre, your vibes are there for that.
yeah. Yeah, I think for sure, like the hip hop R&B genre, it welcomes a lot of like freestyling.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like a core to the and I think because even like the folkier stuff I have is a little bit in the jazz arena. So that also really encourages freestyling. But yeah, I haven't run into that as an issue. I think just because of the level where I'm at, since I'm like, you know, very small. I'm pretty small. Like most of the artists that I'm around and like the open mics and shows I go to, people also play unreleased music.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, when I've been at a show and like even if it's like a big artist and they play a song that's unreleased, I'm like, wow, I feel so special. Like
That's
no
true.
one else is gonna like no one else. This is like the moment we're hearing this song. Um, there's no other chance. And um yeah, but I'm also just like I'm like overly nice and like I like try not to be like too like opinionated or critical because I am so sensitive as an artist and I never want someone to be mean about my art. So I'm always like very hesitant to say something like critical about other artists. But I think it's valid. It's like a valid feeling. Um I can't imagine times when I've like been at a show and I'm kind of like, oh, but I like it when you sing it the other way. But I think also with vocalists, it's hard. Like, I think some of my favorite vocalists, like Jasmine Sullivan, I saw her live once. It was incredible. It was literally one of the best shows I've ever seen. But she literally can't sing her songs like she does on the album because they're so technically difficult. And like she's
Oh,
on tour and she can't be like, belting out these crazy notes for every single song. So she really let in that show, she really let her background vocalists carry things. And then she
mm,
would throw in crazy notes and some runs. But there's no way she could really like deliver the powerhouse like for 2 hours every single night. It's just like not gonna happen. So yeah, you're right. It does depend on the genre.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
overall though, like for touring artists, it's very like it's being on tour is like super tough. Like I've watched a couple of interviews of like some musicians that are maybe like in their like late 30s, early to mid 40s, and they're like, yo, if you get 4 or 5 hours of sleep sometimes on a tour bus, if you can get a tour bus,
Yeah.
like that's good. Because
Wow.
you're just like you may not leave the venue depending on like how nice you want to be to your fans
Mm-hmm.
until like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And you got to do sound check the next day at like 2 or 3. So you're probably gonna get woken up by like the bus stopping and like
Yeah.
it's it's tough. So like musicians that tour a lot, you know, definitely props to it. I don't think we give those musicians like enough appreciation or props for that. I do
Yeah.
think I've seen some musicians in recent years, and I think this is a really smart strategy. They'll do 4 shows, or 3 or 4 shows in one city, and then they'll only do like 5 cities.
Oh, okay. So like it's easier on them taking a break.
Yeah, so they'll be like, hey, we're gonna do 2 shows a week, maybe 3 shows a week, in New York, and
Yeah.
then we're gonna go to Chicago. We're gonna do 3 shows there, and then
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go to like Dallas and do 3 shows there. And they really just had like the bigger cities, but it's also like the if you fly in for that show, you have 3 days you could potentially see them. Also, if you live in that city, you have more of an opportunity to see them. And I think that lets some of the artists that are doing this like provide a really good show. And they're also
Yeah.
in the same venue. So they can
Yeah.
say, hey, we know like how this worked on night one. Let's switch it up or let's make this better on night 2 and 3. So and these are all artists that are like again, like they're in their 40s and their 50s and like they've got to do something to get some sleep. So I
Yeah.
think it's a smart strategy, and depending on you know how your promoter sets up your tour and different things like that, it's something that I think if you live in New York, because people tend to do multiple nights in New York, it's great.
Yeah.
But if you live in the middle of nowhere, like how I was when I grew up, it's like we never have anybody. I gotta drive 6 hours for a show. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, it's supposed to be really, really hard on your voice, pop singers on tour. I mean, just like it's hard to even imagine like how they do it, like what their routine must be. Because yeah, singing nonstop for 2 hours, multiple nights in a row. I mean, it's you see artists talk about like their voice giving out, canceling shows because their voice is like just gone. And it definitely seems rough. And it just seems like seems like it's not always in control. The artist's not in control of the schedule. Um, and it doesn't always seem like the industry is like respectful of what a vocalist needs in order to sing. Because like how is that even like allowed? Like
yeah,
to work you to the point of like losing your voice, like it's completely unhealthy. But it's like it's standard. It's
yeah.
standard practice.
And I depending on how it goes about when you're setting your tour up, like if you have a record label and they're setting the tour up like for you, like it all kind of comes down to money. Like how much are you going to get per
Right.
show? How much are they going to get a cut of? How much is the
Right.
promoter? And
Right.
there are some other factors of well, we're planning your tour around all these other people that are also playing at all those venues.
Right.
And as you get older, there are also if everyone in the band has families, it's like, well, we don't want to be away from them longer.
Right.
So
It
there are like a
extends
lot,
it the longer time you take.
yeah, there are a lot of factors that involve in it. But I do think like, I mean, you as a singer, but like all singers in general, like there are some health aspects that we kind of like ignored in the past when it came to touring and performing and like if we have the ability to say, hey, we can take an extra day between each show or we can do 3 shows in one city so you can get more sleep and rest. Then it's like, hey, maybe we should consider doing those, even if it is like a little less money. We can maybe make that up some other way because people are going to buy more merch, or raise the tickets by like $1 or something, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
there are other ways to do that. But you've got the music video out now. You've got the song
Thank-
out now.
Yeah.
What and like I
Thanks,
know I know like you just dropped this, so it
Yeah.
might be too early to ask, but what do you want to do next?
Uh, I mean, I have other songs um, that are ready to go. So now it's about like um well, I have one song that I'm hoping to release in the fall. I should be able to release it called Don't Cry, and it's like a very technically difficult song. And it took me a while to train up to a place where I felt comfortable, like good about the recording. So I was training that song for like a good 8 months, honestly.
Oh,
I also wrote that one last fall, and I've just been working on it. And then I took a break from it like in March. And then I came back to it, I think last month, to add it to the lineup for a show that I had. And, sometimes you just need to take a step back from things and like develop a better relationship with it. And so yeah, when I came back to it, I was like, oh yeah, like I can totally sing this. And I sang it also at my video release party on Saturday. And yeah, and I'm like feeling really good about it. So I'm actually supposed to record the vocal track on Sunday. And that one's also with Microwave Water. And I'm really, really excited about that one. It's like kind of it's one of the like first like upbeat like type songs, because I think all my songs so far have been kind of like
yeah.
chill, like vibey. But yeah, my producer has the idea to like, it has a sample in it. So he had the idea to go into the train and like sing it in the train station and be like, we're fundraising for the sample. Obviously, we already paid for the sample, but it's like,
You got to cover the cost in some sort of way.
yeah, and also, just engage people
Yeah.
in the process. And so I'll get someone to videotape that. And I think that could be like a really fun, like, you know, uh, urban, very like has like we'll have a lot of movement because we're going around. And it'll be good to not to we'll probably record that video ideally in October if we're able to if I'm able to get the mix mm, done this month, master September, October. So then, not be in the subways in the summer in the
Yeah, I was
deathly
gonna say
hotness.
it is gonna be. It's all
No
whatever it is
way.
outside. It's like 20 degrees hotter in the
You
subway.
ain't no way was I gonna film that in the summer. Like, no, that sounds uh like a nightmare. We'll be reenacting like being in hell because it's so
Oh,
hot.
yeah. You'll be like, hey guys, we're gonna sing this once, and then we're gonna take
Yeah,
a
I'm gonna
55-minute break.
yeah, let's go upstairs and douse ourselves in water. But yeah, so that's the plan. And yeah, and then I think throughout the fall, I'll just like work on new stuff that I could have loaded up for next year.
There you
It's
go.
the never-ending process.
So the music video's out now. You're gonna have a
Mhm.
song coming out later in the year after you've spent some time in the subway. Where can people find you to like watch the video, follow you, and check out your shows and feature music?
Yeah, on everywhere, I'm Katrina Sotera. It's Katrina with a K and Sotera. And yeah, I'm on all the streaming. You can buy my music on Bandcamp. I'm on all the social media. It's at Katrina Sotera. And yeah, just hit me up. I'm so down to connect with people. And yeah, it's just been really good to connect with people and just find new ways to collaborate.
Yeah, and we'll have all those links in the bio below. So make sure you check out the music video, follow our Instagram so you can find out when the next song is coming out. And I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of posts about whatever future shows are coming up on all the socials as well too.
Thanks.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
good to catch up again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thank you for listening to Creative Curves podcast. I hope you've been inspired by this episode to try something new in your own creative process. Follow me on Instagram and YouTube at Blue Sirens Music for weekly Creative Curves podcast episodes. Thanks for listening.